Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be doing a section A, one of the last section A's that are publicly available. The 2023 paper unfortunately is not available right now, and that's so your teacher can use it for your exam potentially. So what I'm going to do is run through this paper, section A. It's a macro paper, it's a national and global economy for Edexcel, and you can tell because paper 2 is that paper, and I'm going to run through all of the reasoning behind answering each question and give you the answer that you need. Hopefully helps you with some of the theory, and if you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So let's jump into it, and we have 30 minutes, but it never takes us that long because we are always trying to save time by moving on to section B and the longer mark questions, which come with obviously more significance for your final result at the end of your paper. So let's get cracking. According to the Bank of England, the UK's marginal propensity to consume, that is the amount of additional income that is spent if you earned an additional £1. So what they're saying there is that if you earned an additional £1, it would be that you spent 64 pence of that £1. Using the information above, calculate the total reduction in the UK's GDP from a fall in government spending of £20 million. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, but what you need to know is the formulas for the multiplier. And there's only one pertinent formula, which is 1 over 1 minus the marginal propensity to consume, but sometimes they give you what is also known as the marginal propensity to withdraw, which are the leakages from the circular flow of income. That is marginal propensity to import plus marginal propensity to tax plus marginal propensity to save. That is what MPW is equal to. Anywho, if we're working out the value of the multiplier, we can substitute in our values here. So it is 1 over 1 minus 0.64, which, if we put that into the calculator, is 1 over 0.36, and it should give you 2.7 recurring. Now, usually they give a range in the answer to these questions, so what I would suggest is that you try to keep it, for the moment, as close to this answer as possible in your calculator, and then you multiply this. If we're trying to find out what the fall is, we need to figure out what the spending is, which is 20 million. So all you need to do from this point is take your 2.7 recurring and multiply that by 20 or 20 million, depending on how you want to do it. And what's important is the units are correct. If you type that into your calculator, remember to include the pounds. That is approximately 55.6 million. Now it's important that I put the million. If I don't put that, then I only get 3 marks. Otherwise, that is the first 4 marks done. Which one of the following is an injection into the circular flow of income? Well, we've just done the leakages. We've just spoken about those. The leakages are our savings, tax, and imports. And our injections are our exports, and we'll put as X, government spending, and investment. And if we look at those, tax, savings, imports, investment. There you go. Now, if you were stuck in that one, you could just have taken out these leakages and you would have been able to get to the final answer, which was investment. Moving on. Annual percentage change in average UK house prices. So here we have a graph. The graph goes from May 2018 to May 21, and we can see that each year, the percentage increase is basically positive, apart from around here, and here it's still positive but very low. So house prices are rising each year. With reference to the chart, which one of the following is true? Average UK house prices fell in August 2020. Well, that's wrong, because you can see here's August 2020. If you go look there, the percentage prices are increasing, and they're always positive as well. So this is wrong. Fell in November 2018. No, that can't be possible because they are rising. So that is wrong. B is wrong. Rose the fastest in May 2021. Well, this looks pretty spot on in terms of the fastest growth level, because as you can see across here, it's about 11% growth. So I'm going to give it a tick for now. Stayed constant in 2018. Well, that can't be true because in 2018, you can see all of the increases going on there. So that is also wrong. So the answer must be C. With reference to the chart on the previous page, okay, so this means that we need to get our application marks. So if we don't include that, we're going to only get 3 out of 4. Explain the likely impact of an increase in average house prices on UK consumption. Okay, so the whole idea here is the wealth effect. And it's when your assets, like your houses, increase in price. Or increase in value, let's say. So, explain that in household consumption. So if there is an increase in house prices, there will be a positive wealth effect. As households will feel wealthier due to their most valuable asset, usually, rising in value. Okay, then I can choose any part of this. So I might choose May 2021. For example, in May 2021, house prices increased by approximately, and if we go back up, you can see 11%. And it's May 21, just double checking. There we go, get my application marks. And therefore I can say it's likely that consumers will increase their spending. Therefore, consumption from households increases as they are more confident. Okay, job done. Bank of England base rate. Okay, this is set by the central bank and is extremely important as part of monetary policy. With reference to the chart above, explain the likely impact of reduction in the base interest rate on UK investment. Okay, now again, with reference to the chart above, do not forget to do that. That again is application marks. So you choose any part where the base rate has fallen. If there's a reduction in the base interest rate on UK investment, it means the cost of borrowing is lower or the reward for saving is lower. So usually it increases the level of investment from firms. So if there is a fall in the UK base rate, there is likely to be an increase in investment. And then I give my application, for example, the base rate fell from 0.5% in 2016 to 0.25% at the end of 2016. So then I just make sure that I give some kind of explanation, some analysis. So firms are more likely to invest due to the low cost of borrowing. Borrowing / lower incentive to save. There we go. 4 marks. Which one of the following would be most likely to result from the lower base interest rate? Ooh, good question. Okay, which one would be most likely to fall? Which would fall in? Okay, so actually this is incorrect because house prices would likely increase because more households or more consumers would be buying houses they'd be cheaper to get a mortgage for. Lower base rate, the external value of the pound. This could be true. The level of employment. No, the level of employment should increase the employment rate because there should be an increase in demand, and because labour is a form of derived demand, you'd end up with an increase, as in if households buy more goods and services, firms need more households to work, and so the employment rate should rise, or the unemployment rate would fall. The rate of economic growth, well, because there's a fall in interest rate and consumers are spending more, then consumption as a component of AD should rise, which should lead to an increase in economic growth. And because for the UK it's the most significant section of it, it represents around 67% of aggregate demand, approximately, you would end up with an increase in GDP or aggregate demand. So the value of the pound is correct. This is probably because there's a fall in hot money flows, which means that fewer people are buying pounds, which is decreasing the demand for it, and also individuals or foreign investors are most likely converting their pounds into other currency to get a better return on their savings. So the supply of the currency could increase as well. There we go. The trade cycle, okay. Real GDP, positive output gap. There would be a negative output gap. And you can see that we always fluctuate in cycles in our trade cycle. So at point Z or Z on the diagram, which one of the following is likely to occur? So as I mentioned, a positive output gap typically results in low unemployment. So actually absolute poverty would decrease, not increase. An increase in the budget deficit. Well, a budget deficit is when government spending is greater than taxes. And in a positive output gap, less government spending is needed because there are more people employed and more taxes are collected through income tax and corporation tax. So actually, there would be a fall, most likely, in the budget deficit. An increase in cyclical unemployment. Again, unlikely, because there's a stronger demand for goods and services, it's likely that this creates an increase in demand for labour, and therefore cyclical unemployment actually decreases. And inflation is probably the most likely. If we draw a diagram, we can represent this with price level and real GDP. And here is our long-run aggregate supply curve and aggregate demand shifting outwards as a result of the lower unemployment, maybe the increase in confidence, which leads to increase in investment and increased consumption. And you can see the growth on the x-axis, but you can also see what is called the demand pull inflation on the y-axis, and there's that increase there. With reference to the graph, explain the difference between automatic stabilizers and discretionary fiscal policy. Ooh, okay, good. So actually we can use this point here, let's call it X, to help us answer this question. So, automatic stabilizers are just trying to figure out the best way to phrase it in my head, are means of of government spending which occur based on the fluctuations of the trade cycle. The government actually doesn't make any decision to increase or decrease spending. Okay, so there we go. That's what automatic stabilizers are. So we can annotate this diagram. This diagram is available to us and we have the opportunity to do whatever we want. So what I could say is at point X, it is likely there would be an increase in government spending on unemployment benefits due to the negative output gap. And there would be less tax revenue as well. Due to higher cyclical unemployment. Okay, so discretionary fiscal policy is deliberate alterations of government spending, tax, to achieve government objectives. And then we could say, e.g., better education. Okay, now that's quite a long-winded explanation, but that should help to cover the points that we've made there. And finally, we have our last question, question 5. In May 2020, the UK government introduced a loan scheme to help small businesses survive the downturn in the economy. Small businesses could borrow up to £50,000 at an interest rate of 2.5% for up to 6 years from a bank. The government guaranteed 100% loans to enable banks to issue them quickly, and only minimal checks were made on the borrowers. So this is actually important, this bit, the government guaranteed. That means that the banks basically don't lose any money if whoever takes out the loan can't pay them back, because the government will pay them. So there's no incentive for banks to not pay out loans to people. With reference to the information above, explain one role of financial markets. Okay, so one role of financial markets is to facilitate lending between banks and households. And we could say to facilitate exchange of goods and services. Between banks and households, and let's add firms as well, and firms, because that's going to help us. For example, and then we need the application because it says with reference to the information above. For example, I'm just going to put app. Small businesses could borrow to £50,000 for up to 6 years. During the pandemic. And then we could give some analysis. So these loans for businesses to spend on capital or expand their business during COVID, when there was little available credit in the market. Okay. And finally, which one of the following would be a risk if only minimal checks are made on borrowers in this loan scheme? Ooh, this is a good question. Okay, so asymmetric information is possible because if you do minimal checks, you don't have all the information available on the people who you're loaning to. Crowding out is not correct. Market rigging. No, there's no suggestion of market rigging taking place. And speculation is also incorrect. Speculation about assets. So asymmetric information is the most likely, purely because if you make minimal checks, you don't know the full information about the person who you're lending to. Okay, so that completes section A for this 2022 macro paper. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, as I mentioned at the beginning, please pop them down in the beginning of the video. In the comments, not at the beginning of the video, like I said at the beginning of the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and that really help the channel. And I'll be back with some more videos in the near future. As always, thanks very much and good luck with your revision. Bye-bye.